everyone, I am Silver. It is Wednesday, August 29th. I just wanted to say a quick hello to all new viewers and an awesome welcome back out to all of my returning viewers. If you have tuned in last time and decided to come back, I really do appreciate it. Anyway, how have you all been? I've been good. I've got lots to talk to you about, so I should probably get started, right? So, grab your drink of choice, your crafting, and away we go. Today, I've actually been drinking a nice cup of Cumby's dark roast coffee. I've already gotten started, sorry. But mostly because I need the diesel for all of the things on my to-do list today. You all know how that goes, right? One more sip and we'll go into everything. Okay. Nope. Needed the coffee more. All right, let's move on to my favorite things. Well, a few packages came in the mail this week. The first one was from Desert Vista Dye Works. So, y'all, you know how I've been doing the Desert Vista Dye Works sock club thing every month, right? Well, since I did get past the 6-month mark, I did get a little bit of a prize for that. The skein that I chose was Your Mean One on her Viso base. I absolutely love the colorway, you guys. It's the Grinch, who happens to be one of my favorite holiday characters, in case you're wondering. So the second thing that came in this week was from Mustache Yarns. I did get 2 different skeins, both on her OCD skeins, which means they are made so that you can go ahead and match the stripy sequence on both socks, which I didn't mind. I just wanted something from Mustache, but the first skein was actually a sports sock weight in the colorway Dark Side EVP. This is 80% merino, 20% nylon. It will be 328 yards and 100 grams. Oh, I love it. And the second skein that came in that package was also an OCD skein, but it was the perfect self-striping sock weight yarn. It's a light fingering in the colorway Bohemian. And this is actually 75% merino and 25% nylon. It is 440 yards and 100 grams. You guys, can you tell why I got these colorways? I love it. The more you know. Couple of things to announce before we really get started into the knitting, you guys. First off, large announcement, my Proud to Be Me pattern will finally be live today, just before the release of this episode. I'm actually going to try to release it by 2 p.m. today, hopefully before I put the episode up. We'll see. But this way it'll actually be available for you, and if you'd like to grab it, I'm going to be giving away a couple of patterns, etc. later on in the year, I think. Anyway, so speaking of grand ideas and premiering things, I kind of had this crazy idea, as you do in the middle of the night, to have a large cowl with a bunch of people involved in it. I'm calling it simply the Great Podcaster Craft Together. I'll have more details next week, mostly as I'm talking about all my cowl recaps and everything. But I just wanted to mention it today so that way you can, take a look. I do have a Rav group open for it if you want to be, spoiled or you want to take a look and find out for yourself what's going on. Because like I said, I have been flushing that idea out for most of the week. And I am super excited to get started with that one, you guys. You have no idea. Okay, so the third thing I do need to announce, especially now that Stash Dash is over, I'm going to be having a little bit of a schedule change. So basically what I'm saying is that my schedule will be changing for recording, basically to the first day of every month after next week's episode, just until next year when I start gearing up for Stash Dash again. Just so you know, it might be sometime in April, but I'll let you know if anything changes on that. But I have put up notifications as far as I possibly can. Okay, with all those announcements out of the way, what you came by for, right? Well, I did manage to finish a few things this week because, like I said, Stash Dash did end. So I had a little bit of a last minute bind off-a-thon, I guess you can say. I wanted to get things done. All right. The first thing that I actually finished was what I called August DVD socks. This did get me 254.1 yards for Stash Dash. The pattern I used on these socks is the OMG Heel Socks by Megan Williams. Now, this was actually the colorway from Desert Risa Dye Works on the Rizo base called Mr. Darcy. Because as you couldn't tell, yes, these are for my Mr. Darcy, Mr. MDI. Anyway, these were his birthday / Christmas socks. I don't know what you want to call them. Anyway, I did use a US 1, which is 2.25 9-inch circulars for most of the sock, and then two 16-inch circulars for the heels, toes, and cuffs. I have already selected my colorway for next month, but I won't tell you until next week when I'm working on them. You know how I roll. So the next thing that I finished was actually one hat out of 3 that I am planning on in a series on my project page. It's called 3 Hats for 3 Wonderful Ladies. This one is actually new from the last time. I'm actually making Kit Kat hats for a few friends of mine for the holidays. I did manage to finish one before the end of Stash Dash, so that would get me 121 yards. The Kit Kat hat pattern is by Andrew Sue. I did use Cascade 220 Superwash in the strawberry cream colorway for the first hat. I'm actually working on a second hat now, and I'm using Cascade 220 Superwash Aran in the pink ice colorway. It's a little bit heavier, but I still love the colorway anyway, you guys. I am actually knitting these on a US 6, which is a 4.0 on 16-inch marbles needles that I have. Oh, these are super, I love the way that these are knitting up. I'm staring at it right now. And so you know, these hats are actually being housed in a Ziploc bag to keep them cat hair free as much as possible. Because I don't know if the intended recipients are actually allergic to cat hair or not. So just to err on the side of caution, right? So the next thing I did manage to finish is part of what I am calling a 2008 washcloths. I did finish all 4 washcloths for August, so that way I can count all of the yardage for Stash Dash, even though there's technically one more Sunday. But anyway, sorry, that made a total of 240 yards for Stash Dash. And to remind you, the pattern that I'm using for all of the washcloths this year are Grandma's Favorite Dishcloth by Ruth Slate. Now, throughout the year, I'm going to be using many different cotton colors in my that I've had in my stash for forever, and I'm trying to knit down. You know, the Lily Sugar and Cream and all that. I believe the color that I'm using this time is called Blue Denim, but there's no way to know, as I've actually received this cotton from somebody I used to work with, and there wasn't a ball band. Actually, it was part of a larger project that I ripped back, but, you know, because I had no idea what they were making, to be honest. So I am using a size US 6, which is a 4.0 millimeter 24-inch marbles needles. Absolutely love working with these needles. Not so much the cotton, but I like working with the needles. Because let's be honest, the last thing that I did manage to finish before the end of Stash Dash was what I was calling shawl number 4. It is the last version that I knit up myself of my Proud to Be Me pattern to be released in a bit. This FO got me 747.8 yards for Stash Dash. This means I had a grand total of 12,780.6 yards, which amounts to 11,686.58 meters. Oh my god, you guys, I am super excited with myself because I had no idea that I was going to hit that. I went into this year a little bit more laid back. Whatever I finish for the end of Stash Dash, I finish. Last year, I went all crazy pants and did the 15K thing. Nah, I wasn't gonna stretch it. I wasn't gonna stress it this year. But anyway, you want to know the details on this shawl, right? Well, I did use two different skeins from Gnome Acres. The first was on Fancy Gnome in the Dean Winchester colorway, and then the colorway Sam Winchester on her House Gnome base. Oh, I am so excited with the way that this worked out, you guys. I did use a US 6 4.0 40-inch Chaigu red lace needles because I needed the extra room, you guys. Okay, so what I am currently working on. Well, I did manage to cast on only one new thing since the last time, which is fine. But honestly, I had just cast on the toe before I recorded last week. But I forgot about it, so I wanted to let you know that I was working on it. Honestly, the reason that it stalled out where it is because I have to get the recipient's measurements on their foot, and then I can get going full throttle. But yeah, there's literally not much to talk about. I think I'm going to put a picture up anyway of what I have, if I can remember where I put the bag. Sorry. Anyway, I will be using the Toe Up Socks of the Difference by Wendy D. Johnson, just so I don't, so I know what the heel will do for this particular recipient. I am using Patton's Croy Blue Stripe Rag colorway. Oh, I love the stripey sequence on this one. I am using a size US 2, which is a 2.75 millimeter on two 16-inch circulars, basically until I get to the end of the toe. And this is actually being housed in my orange Haunted Mansion bag by the Knitted Broomstick. So another work in progress that I made some fair amount of progress on this week was what I am calling the Ice Cream Social 2018 cow, of the same name by J.L. Fleckenstein. This is actually a mystery cow. The third clue was set to release Monday. The designer still isn't done with it, so we got a little bit of a reprieve, basically, so we can catch up to her, which is awesome because I hadn't done much before that. So yeah, I'm almost failing it, but not really. I'm learning a few different techniques in this shawl, so I don't mind one bit. Now for this shawl, I'm actually going to be doing a 3-color fade on it. And they do have fading techniques in there as well. I have not gotten past the first colorway, which I'm using Queen City yarn in the Noda Sock base. Sorry, in her Slumber Party colorway. Once I get to the next couple colors, I'll let you know what I'm using. And so with this project, I'm actually using a size US 6, which is a 4.0 32-inch Jimmy Bean Smart Sticks. My new needles, you guys, I'm still loving them. Absolutely loving them. I am actually hosting this project in my pink teapot bag by the Knitted Broomstick. I love it. I love the way that it's knitting up, you guys. Sorry, I forgot to mention, if you are in the knit along, maybe you might have wanted to look away from the FO. Sorry about that. I know, podcaster fails today, right? The next thing that did get a little bit of love, actually, a couple of repetitions of the pattern actually, was my flat orchid wrap. Just to reiterate, I haven't worked on this in a while, so I am using the flat white wrap by CC Almond. This is actually for a recipient for the holidays, so I have to get going on things, right? I have been using Miss Bab's Caroline base in the orchid colorway. Oh, super gorgeous. I'm gonna see if my intended recipient's going to like it. I'm really hoping. It's so pretty. Anyway, I have been using a size US 3, which is a 3.25 millimeter Addy lace needles that I've got. Oh my goodness. The cord holds a lot of memory, you guys, but that's fine. Anyway, this is actually being housed in my pumpkin spice latte bag by the Knitting Broomstick. Because you all know I love pumpkin spice. Anyways, the last thing that did get a little bit of love was what I called a Scraptastic DVD. This is meant to be a very scrappy knitted blanket that I will probably be working on for at least a couple of years. I am using all sorts of Desert Vista Dyeworks yarn, mostly on her Viso base because that's all I have really from her. But I have been using as much of my scraps from the sock yarn club as I possibly can. I had a couple that came prior to the beginning of the cowl, which is fine. I did add in a lot of the pumpkin pie colorway, but before that I had Winnie the Pooh in there. And then what I am doing is between the ones that are either at the beginning of the cowl or between the 2 years, because I'm planning on doing it next year. Spoilers. But so that way it breaks up the color sequence just a little bit. I think that's a bisque, I believe, is the colorway from the Loopy U. I'll put down below if it's incorrect. Anyway, I am actually doing the 10 stitch blanket by Frankie Brown. I love this pattern, you guys, and it's super simple and it's perfect. It shows off this stripy sequence perfectly. I have been using a size US 5, which is 3.75 millimeters. I'm using straight needles and DPNs, both. Both of them are the carbon needles. Oh, I love it. And DPNs, basically, I'm just using to turn the corners, which is awesome. I love it. And then the straight needles themselves are for the pickup along the sides, because I don't want to do just one stitch at a time. I pick up all the stitches on one side because I'm crazy like that. Anyway, it is small enough right now that it's actually being housed in my coffee bag by Molly Klein Designs. I love it. Love it. So you guys, I've got some X's and O's this week. I did put up a few posts this week. I've been a little bit busy. Like I said, the to-do list is not getting any smaller. But anyway, I did do a total of I did a lot of writing this week. I did finish up the end of my Stash Dash post that I've been doing on my blog, which is dreamysilver2112.com. I'll link it below. I've also put up a couple of posts for a couple of book reviews that are coming up that I've gotten as ARCs. Those will go live as the books are going live. You'll see them as well. I've also updated, I have a schedule for when my podcast will be on a separate page. It's actually to the left of the show notes at the show notes blog, which is silversdreamlandpodcast.com. I'll put that below too. Basically, so that way you can follow along, and if any changes happen, I do usually change it there as well. Oh, and also, I've changed along that same sidebar. There's a separate page for all of the different craft alongs and things that I'm either participating or hosting. And I have done that for at least the past year and a half, just because I know it's hard for me to keep them all straight. Never mind y'all, right? All right, moving on to Radio Gaga. Basically, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, y'all, because do you know how I roll? The first one that I've actually been listening to a little bit is actually My Favorite Murder. I also had to catch up a little bit on the Knitmore Girls because I'm a little bit behind. I'm a bad girl, I know. I've also been listening to Wine and Crime, and That's Why We Drink. All caught up on them. Oh, you guys. And another one that hasn't been around for a while, like a couple months. I thought he had just given up on the podcast for a little while at least, or he was working on a big project. Apparently, the host of this show actually got into a major accident. So, I'm hoping he's doing well, and it was awesome to hear him back, to be honest. I've missed him. Pleasing Terrors. Sorry if I didn't mention it before. The last one that I've been listening to off and on throughout the week was the Harry Potter and the Sacred Text podcast. I'm also reading each chapter to go with it. I'm hoping that I will catch up prior to, hopefully prior to the end of the month, but not this month, prior to the end of September, but we'll see. All right, so Silver's book pile. So this week I did reach 103 finished books for 2018 so far, which basically means I finished my first goal on Goodreads. Yay. So I actually just immediately upped the goal to 120 so that way I can keep going. I am kind of like that. So wish me luck. In that vein, I did finish a book called Just Right by Aaron Nicholas. I did completely finish Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone because it's philosophers, not sorcerers. Sorry, guys. That's the way I roll. I may be from the US, but I still say it right. And I also am reading a series by Tammy Adarin. The first one is The Best Is Yet to Come, Best Dating Rules, and Best Foot Forward. I finished all three of those. And I am currently actually reading through the fourth in the series, which is Best Laid Plans. I've also been reading Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. And I've also just been doing a little bit of listening on The Fiery Cross by Diana Gabaldon. Not much, but a little bit. Silver and the Case of the Screen Time. I have actually been trying to catch up a little bit on all of the podcasts that I've had my eye on for a while. In fact, I have a list. But I have been mostly catching up with my usual podcast this week because it seems like everyone came by this week. But I do have a full list in the show notes actually at www.silversdreamlandpodcast.com, like I mentioned before. And I do tend to watch a lot of those on a weekly basis, so I won't repeat them all. However, I did manage to finish catching up with Knit Sense, which is awesome that I was able to catch up with her. She was somebody I met at SSK, so yeah. And I also, speaking of SSK, I did manage to catch up with Stranded Dye Works SSK vlog, which was pretty awesome. And I'll have to tide me over until I get to her. Amy Florence, oh my gosh, she's amazing. Oh yes, and also it has been taking up my screen time this week. I have been watching a lot, and I repeat a lot of those reaction videos on YouTube for the Supernatural 2 parody. I love seeing the gamut and the large range of people's reactions to this wonderful video. Honestly, I lost an entire night watching these videos, and most of the videos especially are like 11 minutes and under, so you can see what I mean by watching a lot of videos. Anyway, I digress. Okay, we have come to the end of the road. I am pretty social. You can find me on our Ravelry board, which is Silver's Dreamland Podcast. I am SilverLuna2112 there on Ravelry. On Facebook, Silver's Dreamland can be found at www.facebook.com/Silver'sDreamland. On Instagram, I am Silver's Treats. On Twitter, I am at Silver's Knitting. So you know, I do tend to read through all messages as soon as I possibly can. Just be aware on Instagram, I may not be able to see your DMs. So if you don't hear from me within 24 hours, please feel free to email me directly at silversdreamland@gmail.com. As always, anything that I talk about can be found at my show notes, which is actually at www.silversdreamlandpodcast.com. Okay, I have rambled for long enough. I know your time is valuable. Please feel free to join in any discussion, or you can even start your own on the Silver's Dreamland board. I don't bite, I promise. So please stay tuned for episode 59 on September 15th. Until next time, happy crafting!